you don't protect the brand, it's going to have a bad reputation. And the sprint will be just that. It's just a sprint, and then you're tired and you can't run anymore. So the business will lose momentum, it will lose profits long term. And for me, kasi if you're gonna do business, it's a marathon, long term siya.
Mm.
Diba? Doing it as a sprint, parang medyo hindi worth it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Leadership Stack Podcast, the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs to increase your leadership, teamwork, and profits. This is your host, Sean C., aka Mr. CEO at 22. This is a very interesting question, this next one. And Erica asks, should my first business be a franchise?
It really entails a lot for you to decide if your first business should be a franchise. You really need to study also if it's something that's going to benefit other people in terms of having it as a franchise. I'm not sure, Sean, because for me, I think there are a lot of elements that you need to research and study about it if your first business should be a franchise.
For me, my opinion here is it would depend
Mhm.
on your capital. If you have the
Mhm.
capital to start a franchise and you want to learn the systems behind that franchise, I don't think you have any downside to that.
Mhm.
Because the franchises do what they do and how they do it because they already kind of studied the system, the economy, the location where you're going to be putting it up. They already have their hiring process, their logistics, making sure that the food or supply arrives in time, na hindi siya agad mapapanis or mag-expire. So, if you want to learn how the franchises do it, maybe in hopes of starting your own business someday, I don't think there's a downside if you have the capital
Mhm.
to pony up to buy a franchise. But if you don't, then you would have to start your own. That's really it. Also, I think naman there's an upside in starting your own business before you get into a franchise, and that is knowing now what kind of franchise you want to be in. Because you have more opinions about what kind of business you want to be in. I've known some entrepreneurs who started businesses na hindi naman siya nag-fail. Medyo kumikita naman eh. But they found out they weren't passionate about it. And then they realized what aspects of the business they weren't passionate about. For example, legal, they don't like doing that. Accounting, they don't like doing that. Minsan masaklap pakinggan no, that you don't want to do accounting and you're a businessman because that's your profit and loss statement. But not all people are passionate about accounting. I would say I'm not passionate about accounting. My
Mhm.
wife does our finances really well and she knows the ins and outs and she's really good at it. So I let her do it. Looking at the financial sheet is not something that I like doing. I would rather close more deals, innovate about more products or services we can offer to the client, and spend more time with the clients that we have. So again, it depends on what you would like to do,
Yeah.
and that you would find that out if you start your own business, and then you would be able to choose a franchise better. So either way works. It depends on where you are right now as an entrepreneur in life. Should I franchise my business? Now, this is interesting. I think one of the biggest decision points if you want to franchise your business would be, can you scale it out in such a way that the brand will not diminish? Kasi yun yung nagiging problema ng maraming brands na nagpa-franchise. Yes, they get scale. Umabot sila ng Visayas, umabot sila ng Mindanao. The brand is nagiging mas masikat siya. It's getting better known. But the problem is the controls are not put into place that well because you weren't able to scale your internal processes and manpower well. Nag-franchise out ka nga sa Visayas, wala ka namang tao dun to
Yeah.
control what the franchisees are doing with the brand, where they're getting their suppliers from. I know a couple of franchises who have struggled and are really struggling, especially now during the pandemic, because they weren't able to control their franchisees. Iba-iba yung kinukuha ang supplier ng mga franchisee, hindi na dun sa tamang agreed upon supplier. And they weren't able to control that kasi they scaled very fast eh.
Mhm.
Hinayaan nila. It's like going into war, you advance so fast that your supply troops cannot get to you in time. You run out of bullets, you run out of food. Exactly what happened to Napoleon when he was invading Russia. That's why they lost and they had to back out. That's exactly what happens when you let your business be franchised by others, but you don't have the internal processes and manpower to support it.
Mhm.
So those are the decision points you need to check. How should I turn my small business into a franchise? This is very tough. For me,
Mhm.
you have to hire a franchise consultant talaga before you are able to turn your business into a franchise.
Mhm.
It's good for scale, but again, you have to think of every little detail, because if you're the brand franchising out, you have to control the integrity of the brand. That means processes in place, systems in place, people in place. Your next question is, how much does it cost to franchise my business? I have to be honest here, I have no idea. I would assume it would cost somewhere between 1 to 5 million, maybe even 10
Mhm.
million if you're pretty big. Medyo exaggerate na siguro yung 10 million, no? But maybe more or less 3 to 5 million, maybe, because you need to go to the IP or the intellectual property office, make sure your brand is protected, your systems are in place, and for you to be able to know the systems, know the processes you need in place. You need a consultant, so you need to pay for the consultant. You need HR, you need an office. So, medyo magastos din siya. Will I earn more profits through franchising my business? If you do it right. For me, if you protect the... You can earn more profits naman kagad eh. By franchising it out, tapos ang bilis ng rollout mo,
Mhm.
nakapag-penetrate ka kagad ng Visayas, Mindanao, or nakapag-penetrate ka kagad ng international. But the problem is, if you don't protect the brand, it's gonna have a bad reputation. And the sprint will be just that. It's just a sprint, and then you're tired and you can't run anymore. So the business will lose momentum, it will lose profits long term. And for me, kasi if you're gonna do business, it's a marathon, eh. Long term siya.
Mhm.
Doing it as a sprint, parang medyo hindi worth it. Follow-up question to that is, how can I buy a franchise? Actually, this is an easy question. Search in Google. A lot of them are already highlighting what you need. I know DGP it was a client of mine. And in their website, nandun na lahat. Nakalista na kung anong kailangan mo to be a franchisee. So I believe if you want to franchise, for example, the big fast food chains such as Jollibee or McDonald's, all you need to do is go in their website, download the brochure, or inquire, and they'll let you know how much it will be and what they will require from you in terms of identification, proof of billing or residence, etc. What is the best franchise in the country? Oh no, magpa-plug ba tayo dito?
Oh, congratulations. What's your
Well,
answer?
I think we have a lot. And my honest answer for you, Erica, would be it would depend on what you love to do. Even with franchise, marami kasing iba-ibang klaseng business eh. And at the
Mhm.
core, it's still a business. So for example, if you like doing pharmaceutical, you love to be in the pharmaceutical industry. You like helping people by prescribing drugs, helping them to get better. Definitely the generics pharmacy, one of the best franchises out there for that. If you're into the food business, sobrang dami. We can start with the two most popular fast food chains out there, which is Jollibee and McDonald's. There's just so many franchises out there. And if you want to play it, medyo capital tight ka, it could be Master Shomai or could be
Mhm.
one of the food kiosks that you can put up in the MRT or malls. Potato Corner, definitely one of the most popular. But all of these franchises that I'm mentioning, it wouldn't be the best for you if you're not passionate about that business. Because you can't start a business, even if it's a franchise business, plainly and strictly just because of the money. I believe there has to be some heart in it from the entrepreneur.
The first thing that you should ask yourself is, what's your interest?
Mm.
That's very important what you said, where your heart is, your passion is, your gifts, your skills, and which franchise you can really connect with. And I think, yeah, how much are you willing to invest? And really research about this franchise as well. I think those three are very important.
So if you didn't exist, Sean, how would the world be worse off with regard to SEO? Would
It
a client struggle to find a competitor? And if you can look at that gap as to why they would struggle and what would the world be worse off without you, that's where you're starting to get into your competitive advantage, your value add, and the long-term survival happens in there.